Hello and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Today's video isn't exactly the typical content that I make, but there is something that I really want to talk to you guys about. And before we get into it, I am going to share a couple little quotes with you. The first one is from author Cole Arthur Riley. If you're feeling a kind of bone-deep soul-body exhaustion today, please remember that it is by design. However futile resistance and goodness and beauty feel today, do not surrender your appetite for them. Pay attention, keep record, do what you need in order to retain possession over your own imagination. And the second is a poem that you have probably seen before, and in an effort to not have this video get censored, I am just going to put it on screen, but I ask that you pause and take a moment to read it. Obviously, if you live inside the US, you probably have some concept of what's going on in our country. Even if you live outside of the US, you probably have some concept of what's going on in this country. But for those who don't know, things are getting very scary and very dire. And I'm not going to go into each policy change that's been happening here or each event that's taken place, but I am going to ask that these be things that you educate yourself about. And when doing research, I urge you to keep an open and skeptical mind. I have linked in the description links to both fact-checking resources as well as how to retain good media literacy. Of course, I understand that watching or reading about the news is extremely difficult and triggering and exhausting. I really want to emphasize that I recognize that. I hope that now can also be a time when you tune into that exhaustion, tune into that anger, and really you tune into that empathy, into your body, and try to understand why it's reacting in those ways. Through all of that, prioritize self-care. Absolutely take breaks from your screens. Absolutely turn inwards. Absolutely turn to your escapes and the things that soothe your nervous system. Obviously, my platform here is about age regression, chronic illness, and my personal healing journey. For myself and a lot of you, regression is probably a big part of your life and a big part of the way that you self-soothe. When big world events go on, particularly the type of events going on now, it can be extremely triggering. This makes taking breaks and using coping skills like regression more important than ever. However, I have been feeling a little troubled by some of the discourse I've seen lately online in the regression and adjacent communities. And I understand that for many people, the online regression space is a comforting, safe space. And of course, you have every right to use your platform however you want and to tailor both what you see and say to fit your needs. And I love that you have that agency. But when things get bad, we as adults have a responsibility. We have a responsibility not just to ourselves and looking after our emotional needs, but also to our community and to our planet. We have a responsibility to educate ourselves, a responsibility to use our voice, and we have a responsibility to take action. And when it's hard, even when we don't want to, even when it isn't even fair to us. But at the same time, we don't want to be a part of the reason that in schools in 50 years, kids are saying things like, why didn't someone do something? How did it get this bad? And while of course we are not at fault for the actions of our oppressors, and like I said, those things might not be fair, but that doesn't mean it's just for us to just stand down and stand by. When our human rights are violated, we have to do everything that we can to resist. For those of us who are disabled or dealing with unregulated nervous systems which have been traumatized, this can be especially hard and scary. But I implore you to do the work. From bigger actions to smaller ones, I want to talk about some things that you can do. First, educate yourself. Even if it's in small doses alongside breaks and using coping tools. Learn about what's going on in the world. And equally as important, learn world history. I will put on screen some books, as well as a list of movies that you can watch. You can also briefly read and learn about the 14 characteristics of fascism, which I have linked in the description. To learn about these things in a less direct way, you can also read some dystopian fiction or just some commentary fiction. I will also put on screen which books I recommend in that genre as well. Next, if you live in the US, you can find out who your representatives are. And when there is legislature going on, that you can call or write to them, and they keep a record of where people stand. You can also look and see what bills are in circulation and who has voted for and against them. Resources will all be in the description. When buying things, do a quick search, look into the company you're buying from and what they've endorsed and what they stand for, and try to make more sustainable shopping options for the planet. This is something that I'm trying to do a lot more often. Buy secondhand when you can, look into veganism, which can cut your carbon footprint down by over half. Just do whatever sustainability measures you're able to. If, like me, it is difficult to attend things like marches and protests due to disability, use your voice online through your social media platforms. Share relevant information. It is so important in a time of AI and rampant misinformation that we have people sharing true information from competent and compassionate resources. This is literally the least you can do. Even if your social media is a safe space, trying to keep everything nice and neutral and non-triggering is great, but right now, other things are more important. As social media consumers, we are responsible for ourselves and our feelings. When you feel like you've been seeing too many posts and are getting inundated with a lot of information and are getting into sort of a bad headspace, step away from your phone. Or pivot to a calming game like Animal Crossing or like a relaxing mobile game. You can be a light in a dark world, even when the content is about something dark that you're sharing, because it means that you are resisting, it means that you are providing context, it means that you are helping, and it means that you are choosing what is right over what is easy, over what is comfortable. Love itself is resistance. So is patience. So is just being who you are, even when the world and government tell you you are wrong or flawed in some way. Regressors, we know what it's like to be a part of a small community that gets a lot of hate. Use that empathy and that knowledge to stand by your trans friends, your queer friends, your BIPOC friends, your disabled friends. We need you even when it's hard in general, and even when it is hard or triggering to share things and to be there for us. We still need you. The other thing that you can do is donate. That isn't accessible for everyone. Here's a donation guide that I've created so you can figure out how much it's okay to spend. I also have a Google Doc linked below of a Masterlist that I made of all my favorite charities and resources, like organizational resources, all of which have been vetted by me and all of which receive high ratings on Charity Navigator. And lastly, thank you for sitting through this video. I really hope it resonates with at least some of you. Do not forget your responsibility to this earth and to your fellow human beings. Do not forget your responsibility to yourself either, and be sure to prioritize self-care. Understand that it can be hard to share and hard to read and hard to watch, but doing those things, although it is so uncomfortable and triggering, is so important. So please, please be a part of the change. Be a part of the communal voice and be a part of educating other people. Thank you in advance for your compassion and using your voice. Both are so needed. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one.